Have you ever wondered how long God expects you to keep waiting before something changes? You've prayed, fasted, believed, and tried to stay strong, but still, the silence lingers. Days turn into weeks, weeks into years, and still nothing. No sign, no open door, no miracle, just silence. It feels like everyone else is moving forward, receiving answers, and stepping into their blessings, while you're left stuck in the same painful cycle of asking, hoping, and waiting. That ache in your chest, that quiet frustration no one sees, it's real, and you're not weak for feeling it. There's a heaviness that builds when prayers go unanswered for too long, a weight that's hard to carry when every step feels like you're walking through mud. You smile for others. You stay faithful in front of them. But behind closed doors, you're tired, not just physically, but spiritually. Your hope is running low, and somewhere deep inside, you've started to wonder if God forgot you. If maybe, just maybe, you did something wrong. That maybe your breakthrough is for everyone else, but not for you. That kind of pain is rarely talked about. But it's the kind that keeps people awake at night, silently asking, God, where are you? But here's what you need to know right now. This waiting season is not the end of your story. It's not a punishment. It's not proof that you're forgotten. In fact, it might be the clearest sign that something greater is coming. Sometimes the silence before the shift is the loudest spiritual signal that your breakthrough is near. Not because things feel good, but because everything in your life feels like it's being stretched. That stretching, it's not to break you, it's to make you stronger, to make room for what's coming. The truth is, most people give up right before everything changes, right before the answer shows up, right before the door opens. But you don't have to. You're not watching this by accident. There's a reason your spirit is still reaching, still listening, still hoping even when your mind says to quit. 'Cause something inside you knows there's more. There's more. There's purpose in the pain, in the delay. And yes, there is restoration on the other side. What you're going through is not permanent. This is not where your story ends, but you must keep going. So stay with this message, because what's coming next will give you the clarity you've been crying out for. The signs are already around you. You just haven't seen them clearly yet. But once you do, something will shift in your heart. A fresh fire will rise. You'll understand why you had to wait. And most importantly, you'll finally feel what your soul has been longing for. Confirmation that your breakthrough isn't just coming, it's closer than you think. Keep listening. This is the moment your spirit's been waiting for. If it feels like time is slipping through your fingers and your prayers are still unanswered, you're not alone. That quiet desperation, the ache of waiting without knowing why, it's more common than most will admit. But this moment right here, this silence you're sitting in, isn't a sign that God has abandoned you. It's not a mistake. It's a strategy. Not because God wants to withhold from you, but because He's aligning everything to release exactly what you've been praying for at the exact moment you're ready to receive it. The delay isn't denial, it's development. The problem is, we often expect miracles on our timeline. We want blessings to show up when we feel most desperate, when the pressure is unbearable, when it feels like we're at our breaking point. But what if breakthrough only comes when the foundation inside of you is strong enough to hold the weight of what's coming? What if the silence is God trusting you with preparation before the blessing arrives? This waiting isn't passive. It's an invitation to become, to grow, to sharpen your discernment, to deepen your trust, to stretch your character to match the size of your calling. You may not see it right now, but something is happening beneath the surface. Just because it's not visible doesn't mean it's not real. God doesn't move on your clock. He moves in perfect timing. The reason it's felt so heavy lately is because you're being positioned for something that requires more of you than the last season did. More faith, more wisdom, more strength. And all of that is being formed in the wait. You're not being punished. You're being prepared. Every time you chose to keep going despite the silence, every time you got up when no one clapped, every time you believed when doubt whispered louder than faith, you were proving you were ready. You were building resilience. You were passing the test most people fail. Faith without evidence. That's not weakness. That's power. And that kind of faith unlocks doors no one can close. This process may not feel holy. It may not feel beautiful, but it is sacred. It's in the tension, in the stillness, in the wrestling that purpose is born. That purpose is born. The reason you're still standing right now after everything you faced is because something inside you knows this isn't the end. This waiting will not be wasted. And when the moment comes, when what you've prayed for finally arrives, you'll look back and realize the delay didn't destroy you. It built you. You weren't being held back. You were being held together. So don't misinterpret the silence. Don't mistake the waiting for neglect. The greatest breakthroughs always require the deepest patience. Stay open. Stay expectant. Because when it finally happens, and it will make sense. Every delay, every tear, every night you wondered if God still heard you, it will all be worth it. You're closer than you think. Keep watching, keep believing. Something is about to shift. When your breakthrough is near, your spirit begins to sense it before your eyes can see it. Something inside starts shifting. The places that once felt safe no longer feel right. The routines that used to comfort you suddenly feel too small. What once satisfied your soul now feels like it's holding you back. That discomfort isn't coincidence. It's not burnout. It's not boredom. It's a divine agitation, a sacred restlessness that whispers you weren't made to stay here. And even though you may not fully understand it, you can feel it in your chest. You're outgrowing your current season. This internal disruption is one of the clearest signs that something bigger is coming. When God is about to elevate you, he starts making where you are unbearable, not to punish you, but to push you. When a bird is ready to fly, the nest becomes uncomfortable. When a dream is ready to be born, the womb begins to contract. What you're feeling right now is not failure, it's transition. It's the stretching that comes before the shift. It's your soul letting you know that you can't stay where you are and still become who you were created to be. And yet, in the middle of this restlessness, fear will try to convince you to stay, to play it safe, to settle. It will whisper lies that say, at least here you know what to expect. At least here you won't fail. But deep down you know the truth. Staying comfortable is slowly killing your potential. Every time you ignore that inner push, you shrink a little more. You lose a little more fire. You'll become a little more numb. But when you lean into that restlessness, when you let it guide you instead of scare you, you unlock something powerful. You align with destiny. Don't let the fear of the unknown keep you trapped in what you've already outgrown. If the door feels too tight, it's because you've grown too wide for it. If the space around you feels like it's closing in, it's because you're expanding beyond it. God isn't trying to frustrate you. He's calling you forward. He's stirring the waters inside of you, so you'll stop clinging to what's familiar and start reaching for what's possible. The agitation is proof of your awakening. The unrest is a signal. The moment you stop resisting it and start responding to it, everything begins to shift. You're not crazy for feeling disconnected from what used to fit. You're not wrong for wanting more, even when everything around you tells you to be content. You're being called higher. And when your soul is being called higher, the ground below starts to tremble. That shaking, it's the sign. Oh, it's the proof you've been asking for. You're not stuck. You're being summoned. And if you dare to move with the shift instead of fighting it, you'll walk straight into the restoration you've been waiting for. This is not the end. This is the beginning of your rise. Some losses aren't meant to break you. They're meant to free you. When your breakthrough is close, things that once felt essential begin to fall away. People walk out. Opportunities close. Doors that once looked promising suddenly slam shut. It's confusing. It hurts, but it's not random. It's divine subtraction. What's being removed is often what can't survive where you're going. Not everyone is assigned to your next chapter. Not every connection is meant to grow with you. And as painful as it feels, the letting go is often the blessing in disguise. You may feel like you're being stripped, like the things you leaned on are no longer there to hold you. But what if that's the point? What if the things falling away are the very things blocking your full surrender? What if the loss is protection? When you're too attached to what's behind you, you'll hesitate to step fully into what's ahead. So sometimes God removes it for you, not to leave you empty, but to make space. What's coming into your life needs room. And sometimes the only way to clear that space is through loss that doesn't make sense in the moment. Your spirit knows it even if your heart doesn't want to admit it. There were things you were carrying that were quietly weighing you down. Habits, attachments, relationships, mindsets. You couldn't feel the burden until they were gone. Now there's a strange lightness, a silence that feels almost too loud. That quiet is not abandonment. It's alignment. It's the space between who you were and who you're becoming. It's not the void. It's the clearing. And in that space, clarity begins to rise. Wisdom becomes louder. Your faith gets sharper, And what once seemed like a loss becomes the very evidence that you're on the brink of something greater. Painful endings are often the beginning of divine positioning. Anna. The things you thought you needed may have only served a season, and now you're being upgraded, elevated, expanded. But expansion never comes without some tearing. It never comes without some grief. Allow yourself to feel it, but don't mislabel it. You're not being punished. You're being released. The burden you feel is the weight of the old leaving. The ache is your soul being stretched for something new. You won't always understand it in the moment. It won't always feel like mercy. But later, you'll see it clearly. You'll look back and realize that what you thought was rejection was redirection, that what felt like the end was the beginning of something you never imagined. So don't cling to what's being removed. Don't fight the flow. Let it go with faith. Let it fall away with trust. You're not losing. You're being aligned, and what's coming into your life will not require you to shrink, compromise, or carry what once broke you. It will lift. It will lift. It will remind you why you had to let go. After everything that's been stripped away, something strange begins to rise inside you. It doesn't come with loud fanfare or clear logic. It sneaks in quietly, uninvited yet undeniable. A sudden strength, a boldness you can't explain. You start speaking up more. You stop apologizing for your voice. You start walking like you know who you are, even if your circumstances haven't caught up yet. That's not pride. That's alignment. That's your spirit finally waking up to the power it always carried but was too burdened to express. The old fear is losing its grip. You're not who you were before. And deep inside you know it. You begin making decisions that shock even you. Not because you're reckless, but because you're ready. You're no longer begging for approval. You're no longer waiting for someone else to confirm what God already placed in you. That boldness, that clarity, it's a sign. You're getting closer. Your faith is maturing. Your soul is learning to walk in authority before the breakthrough shows up in the natural. Heaven always shifts you internally before it reveals anything externally. And what you're feeling now is the confirmation that your breakthrough has already been set in motion. Your actions don't match your current circumstances, but that's because your spirit has already moved ahead. You've grown past your present. You're walking in future posture. You're walking in future posture. That's why you don't tolerate the same distractions. That's why old habits feel heavy. That's why comfort no longer satisfies you. Your body is still here, but your soul is already standing at the threshold of what's next. That boldness isn't accidental. It's prophetic. It's what prepares you to handle the weight of the blessing without folding under it. Fear will try to come back. Doubt will knock again, but this time it won't feel the same, because now you recognize the lie. You've tasted courage. You've seen what it feels like to move without full clarity and still land on your feet. You've glimpsed your own strength. And once you've seen that, you can't go back to being passive. Something inside won't let you. That fire you feel is fuel. The same situations that once made you hesitate now make you step forward. That shift is sacred. That is growth. You no longer wait for the atmosphere to change before you change. You become the change. You carry the breakthrough in how you speak, how you walk, how you show up even when everything says you shouldn't. And that, more than anything, is proof that you're close. You're no longer living by sight alone. You're moving by knowing. And when knowing leads, fear loses every time. Let that boldness keep building. Let that fire keep rising. The version of you that was afraid is already gone. What's ahead will demand even more courage. But now you know it's already in you. Keep moving. Keep standing. This boldness is your signal. Something is about to break open. That boldness you feel doesn't go unnoticed. Whenever your faith starts to rise, resistance follows. The pressure increases. The distractions multiply. The spiritual warfare intensifies. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're finally doing something right. The enemy doesn't fight what isn't a threat. And make no mistake, you've become one. That's why the battle has become personal. That's why your mind has been under attack. That's why you've been facing storms you can't explain. It's not chaos, it's confirmation. When breakthrough is near, opposition gets louder. But louder doesn't mean stronger, and pressure doesn't mean defeat. You're being tested, not to break you, but to prove you, to reveal to you what's already inside you. The battle is never just about the moment. It's about your endurance, your consistency, your decision to keep standing when everything inside you wants to collapse. You've made it too far to give up now. The pressure is a sign that you're carrying something sacred, something valuable. And the closer you get to releasing it, the more the resistance tries to block it. But pressure is only proof that what's in you is powerful. Don't let the warfare confuse you. This isn't about punishment. This is about positioning. Every attack is permission to level up. Every struggle is sharpening you for the next level of responsibility. You've been chosen for more, and that comes with weight. But you're built for it. You've been forged in fire, and the flames didn't consume you. They refined you. They revealed your fight. They exposed your grit. Now you know what you're capable of. You've survived seasons that were designed to destroy you. That's not weakness. That's undeniable strength. When your mind is attacked, it's because the enemy fears your clarity. When your peace is disturbed, it's because your next move carries impact. The resistance doesn't show up when you're off track. It shows up when you're dangerously close to the target. And every time you choose to keep believing, to keep trusting, to keep showing up in faith, you weaken the power of the opposition. You reclaim territory with every prayer. You recover your authority with every praise, and slowly the chaos begins to lose its grip. You're not just surviving this battle, you're winning it, even when it feels messy, even when it feels invisible. Victory isn't always loud. Sometimes it looks like you refusing to quit. Sometimes it's you choosing peace when anxiety comes knocking. Sometimes it's simply not giving the enemy the reaction he's after. That quiet strength, that unseen perseverance, that's what brings breakthrough. Not dramatic moments, but steady ones, one bold decision at a time. So if everything feels like it's coming against you, remember this truth. Pressure always comes before the promise. Storms always gather before the sky clears. Keep your posture, stay locked in. You're not breaking down, you're breaking through. And nothing formed against you will prosper when your spirit is anchored in truth. There comes a moment in the middle of the storm when your spirit stops asking for answers and starts receiving direction. It doesn't come from logic. It doesn't come from control. It comes from stillness. A sudden awareness that even in the chaos you're not alone. Even when everything looks uncertain, peace begins to rise from a place so deep you didn't even know it existed. And that peace, quiet, unwavering, immovable, is not weakness, it's revelation. It's your confirmation that breakthrough is not a matter of if, but when. And when peace shows up in the middle of pain, it means God is already working behind the scenes. This peace is different. It's not tied to outcomes. It's not dependent on who stays, who leaves, what shifts, or what remains. It's rooted in trust, not in things, but in truth. When you reach that space, when you stop fighting to control everything and finally rest in what you cannot yet see, something sacred begins to happen. Your mind becomes clear, your heart becomes steady, your spirit becomes focused. And focused, you stop being tossed by every thought, every delay, every disappointment. And suddenly, you start moving with authority again. Not because the storm ended, but because the storm lost its power to shake you. This level of peace is a sign that you've crossed a threshold. You're no longer reacting, you're responding. You're no longer begging, you're believing. You've stopped measuring your faith by how much noise you make and started recognizing that stillness is often the loudest declaration of trust. You don't need to convince anyone. You don't need to prove anything. Santa, the storm around you has met a stillness within you, and that stillness is proof that heaven is near. When your mind should be falling apart but isn't, that's spiritual maturity. When your plans collapse but your purpose doesn't, that's divine alignment. When people expect you to break but you remain whole, not because of willpower but because of grace, you become untouchable in a way this world cannot define. You are no longer controlled by outcomes, delays, or the need to understand every step. You've anchored your soul in something eternal. And in that place, peace reigns. That kind of peace doesn't remove the storm, but it lifts you above it. It shifts your focus from survival to surrender. And in that surrender, strength is born. Not the kind the world measures, but the kind that builds legacies, changes atmospheres, and attracts breakthrough like a magnet. You are no longer the same. You've grown. You've stretched. You've endured. And now you've reached the place where faith isn't a concept. It's a conviction. Quiet, steady, unshakable. So if the world around you is shaking but your soul feels still, honor that. You are aligned. You are covered. And you are closer than you've ever been. This peace is not a pause. It's a sign. Something is about to shift in your favor, and this time you'll be ready for it. Peace prepares you, but preparation proves you're expecting. When your spirit finally quiets and clarity begins to rise, your next response matters more than ever. This is not the time to wait passively. It's the time to act with intention. Faith isn't just what you feel, it's what you do when you believe something is about to shift. Your preparation is your prophecy. How you move right now reveals what you truly expect. Do your habits match what you've been praying for? Does your focus reflect what you claim to believe is coming? If your breakthrough were to arrive today, would you be ready or surprised? This is where most people stop. They wait, hope, and pray, but they don't prepare. And because of that, the moment passes them. Not because the breakthrough didn't come, but because they weren't in position to receive it. Faith without movement becomes fantasy. But when your actions align with your expectation, you send a signal into the atmosphere. I'm not just wishing, I'm ready. I'm not just asking, I'm positioned. Heaven responds to movement. When you move with trust, doors begin to open. Not because you forced them, but because you were prepared to walk through them. What you do in this in-between season matters. Set your vision again. Reignite your discipline. Get clear on what you're building, because the restoration you've been waiting for isn't just about what you get, it's about who you become. This is not about rushing the process, it's about aligning with it. Move with wisdom, move with faith. Move like someone who knows the delay didn't mean denial, it meant design. Every step you take now is a seed, and every seed planted in faith will bear fruit in its time. Stop shrinking your life to match your fear. Start expanding it to match your calling. If you believe restoration is near, then rise like it's already begun. Speak like the answer is already on the way. Carry yourself like the door has already opened. You're not preparing because you're desperate. You're preparing because you're expectant. There's a difference. One is rooted in fear of missing it. The other is rooted in trust that it's already written. Let your habits speak for your faith. Let your focus reflect your healing. Let your environment match your assignment. If something doesn't serve where you're going, release. If something distracts you from your purpose, confront it. You don't have time to waste on things that dilute your destiny. You've waited long enough. Now it's time to move like someone who understands the weight of what's coming. The shift isn't far. And when it comes, it won't wait for you to get ready. It will meet you at the level of your preparation. So stand, build, focus, plant your feet in purpose, and keep your eyes on what's ahead. You're not just close to, you're in the window. Move like it, think like it, live like it. What you've been praying for is already on the way. Every step you take in preparation becomes a declaration to the unseen. I believe, I'm ready, I trust the process. And when that level of faith takes root, it doesn't just change how you think, it changes how you carry yourself. You start walking differently. You stop begging for clarity and start living in obedience. You stop needing validation and start moving in alignment. Your pace shifts. Your posture rises. You no longer wait for the world to confirm your worth. You begin acting like someone who knows they were chosen long before the storm ever started. That is the power of spiritual maturity. It's no longer about how long you've waited. It's about how well you've prepared. Because breakthrough doesn't just come to the desperate, it comes to the ready. The question isn't whether your restoration is coming. The real question is, when it does arrive, will it find you faithful? Will it find you faithful? Will it find you focused? Or will it find you distracted by what should have already been released? You can't take old patterns into new seasons. You can't hold on to fear and still walk in freedom. The version of you that's been crying out for more must now rise to match the weight of answered prayer. This is the hour of separation. When God is preparing you for restoration, He begins to pull you away from what dilutes your identity. Not to isolate you, but to insulate you, to cover you while He reshapes your focus, to protect your soil while He plants new vision. That sense of distance you've been feeling from certain people, places, or patterns isn't rejection. It's refinement. It's God removing the noise so you can finally hear His voice clearly again. And in that stillness, He is instructing you, not with thunder, but with whispers, not with crowds, but with clarity. Now is not the time to get distracted. This is not the moment to look back. You didn't come this far to turn around now. You're too close, too aligned, too awakened, and everything in your life right now is pointing to one truth. Your atmosphere is changing. The signs are subtle but undeniable. You've lost the appetite for things that used to satisfy you. You've gained discipline where you once felt weak. Your boundaries are firmer, your spirit is quieter, and your peace no longer depends on people understanding your process. This is your confirmation. To confirmation. The pressure wasn't punishment. The silence wasn't abandonment. The pruning wasn't rejection, it was all preparation. Everything you've walked through has been shaping you for this moment. Not just so you could receive the breakthrough, but so you could sustain it. You are not the same, to the same. You are becoming. And what's forming in you now is stronger than what tried to break you. So keep moving like someone who knows what's coming is greater than what's gone. Let your actions speak what your prayers have already declared. Your restoration is near. Make sure your life is ready to receive it. When your restoration is truly near, there's a shift that happens so deep within you, it can't be explained. It can only be felt. Your soul stops striving and starts trusting, Not because everything around you has changed, but because something inside you has. You begin to recognize that the breakthrough you're waiting for isn't just about open doors or sudden blessings. It's about identity. It's about standing fully in who you were always meant to be, unshaken by what didn't happen, and unmoved by what others think you've lost. You're no longer driven by desperation. You're led by design. You're no longer chasing what you lack. You're becoming what you were created to carry. And this is when everything aligns. Heaven doesn't pour into emptiness, it pours into vessels that are ready. Vessels that are positioned. Vessels that are not perfect, but willing. Willing to let go of what's familiar. Willing to forgive what was unfair. Willing to release what cannot follow into the next season. That willingness opens the floodgates. That surrender unlocks acceleration. When you stop clinging to timelines and start holding on to truth, you begin to move in rhythm with divine timing. And divine timing doesn't miss. There is a still confidence that begins to rise. It's quiet but unshakable. You no longer need constant reassurance because you've become rooted in purpose. The battles you used to fear no longer intimidate you. The doubts that once paralyzed you now fuel your discernment. You don't panic when things shift because you understand that real transformation is always preceded by disruption. The ground may feel unstable, but your foundation is firm. You're no longer afraid of change, you welcome it, because you know now, anything that leaves your life in this season was never meant to remain. You are stepping into alignment. Alignment with clarity, alignment with peace, alignment with timing, and alignment always comes before increase. Restoration is not just about what returns, it's about what is revealed. You are being shown who you truly are under pressure, under waiting, under silence. And that revelation is more valuable than anything you thought you lost. Because once you know who you are, nothing can shake that. Not delay, not rejection, not the noise of others who couldn't see what God was building in you. The signs are clear. Your appetite has changed. Your energy has shifted. Your standards have risen. You are no longer tolerating what drains your calling. You are no longer explaining what God whispered to you in the dark. This is not arrogance. This is awareness. You are finally aligned with heaven's pace for your life, and that alignment is the final signal. The restoration isn't just coming, it's already unfolding. It may not show up how you expected, but it will arrive exactly as you need. You've done the work. You've remained faithful. You've kept walking. And now everything around you is about to respond to the shift within you. Stay ready. The time is closer than you think. The closer you get to breakthrough, the more subtle the distractions become. Not loud enough to look dangerous, but quiet enough to seem harmless. You'll be tempted to entertain conversations that feel comfortable, but carry no purpose. You'll be drawn to habits that bring quick relief but rob you of long-term growth. You'll feel the urge to shrink back into versions of yourself that no longer exist. This is the final test, not of strength, but of focus. Can you stay locked in when the enemy can no longer stop you, but will try to slowly dull your fire? Can you stay clear when the noise gets louder, not because you're lost, but because you're about to be found? Distraction is the enemy of destiny. It doesn't always come to destroy, it comes to delay. It whispers, just rest here a little longer, when your spirit is saying, keep pressing forward. It disguises itself as peace, but it pulls you away from progress. And if you're not careful, you'll mistake stillness for settling. But you didn't come this far to be comfortable. You didn't endure all this stretching to return to smallness. What's in front of you demands your full attention, not your divided focus, not your partial energy, all of you. You are not in a season of wandering, you are in a season of refining. And refining requires discipline. It requires the maturity to say no to what looks good so you can say yes to what's truly right. You can't afford to leak energy on things that do not multiply your purpose. Every thought matters. Every word spoken counts. Every minute wasted is a moment that could have been invested in preparation. Not because you're in fear, but because you honor what's coming. When restoration is near, reverence increases. You begin treating your time like it's sacred, because it is. This level of intentionality isn't pressure, it's purpose. It's what keeps you sharp when others get weary. It's what keeps you building when others get bored. It's what keeps you believing when others give up. That discipline you're walking in right now, it's not unnoticed, it's not unseen. Heaven responds to consistency. The breakthrough isn't delayed, it's gathering, it's forming, and it will fall exactly where preparation meets obedience. Let the distractions fall away. Let the unnecessary conversations die in silence. Let anything that pulls you away from purpose be released without guilt. You are not being rude. You are being responsible. You've asked for clarity. Now protect it. You've prayed for restoration. Now align with it. This is a season to go deeper, not wider. Stronger, not busier. More rooted, not more scattered. And if you hold the line now, if you stay fixed on what matters, you will step into the very thing your soul has been waiting for. You are not being tested for nothing. You are being trusted with more. And when the distractions fade and your focus remains, you'll see it clearly. The wait was never a waste. It was divine preparation for a restoration too powerful to be rushed. You're not just waiting, you're being positioned. And while it may feel like nothing is moving, everything is shifting. The silence around you is not a void, it's strategy. It's the space where strength is built without noise. In that space, you're being stretched beyond old limits. Your patience is becoming power. Your stillness is becoming stamina. And your waiting is becoming wisdom. This is the space where foundations are laid deep enough to carry the weight of the promise. What's coming isn't temporary, so the process can't be rushed. You're not being held back. You're being held steady, so when the breakthrough arrives, you don't collapse under it. Every delay has purpose. Every moment of invisibility is forming something eternal within you. The things you've endured in secret are producing results you'll walk in publicly. You've cried and still showed up. You've broken and still stood tall. You've doubted but never let go of faith. That kind of resilience doesn't go unrewarded. It becomes part of your legacy. The world may not have seen the battles, but heaven recorded every moment. Nothing has been wasted. Not one tear, not one day, not one hard decision you made to stay aligned when compromise would have been easier. You're not in the dark. You're in development. And what's being developed in you right now is more important than anything happening around you. Because transformation doesn't start outside. It starts in your thinking. It starts in the quiet choices you make when no one is watching. It starts when you decide to keep going, even though there's no applause. That's where character is formed. That's where destiny takes root. Not in the spotlight, but in the shadows where only God sees you. And that's enough. Because when the moment comes, it will be clear that you didn't just show up, you were prepared. You've been asking for restoration, but restoration doesn't mean returning to what was. It means rising into what's better, stronger, clearer, whole. It means you're no longer settling for survival. You're stepping into overflow that requires capacity, and capacity is built through process. This waiting season isn't punishment, it's expansion. You're not being denied. You're being prepared to hold more than you asked for. The question is no longer whether you're qualified. The question is, can you carry the promise with wisdom, with focus, with discipline? Because God doesn't just give based on desire. He gives based on readiness. You're being refined for fulfillment. And even if it still feels far, the shift has already begun. Your peace says it. Don't measure this season by what you can see. Measure it by what's being built within you. What's ahead is bigger than restoration. It's transformation. And it's already unfolding through your obedience. There's a reason the weight has felt heavier lately. It's not because you're weaker. It's because you're carrying more responsibility in the spirit. Your capacity has expanded, and with that expansion comes new tension, not to break you, but to build you. Pressure doesn't visit the unprepared. It comes for those who are on the edge of stepping into a level they've never seen. This is not just the end of a season. This is the birthing of a new dimension. You've been stretched, refined, and shaken, not because you're failing, but because you're about to be established. Foundations don't shift quietly. Destiny doesn't unfold without resistance, but that resistance is proof that you're rising. Everything in you that once doubted is beginning to dissolve. The fear that used to grip your decisions is starting to loosen. And where there was once hesitation, there is now conviction. You know what's coming because you've been prepared for it in silence. You've walked through private battles that produced public strength. You've endured long nights that built unseen character. And now you carry something weighty, not just dreams, but depth. Not just hope, but authority. You don't need to chase affirmation anymore. You've become anchored in purpose, and that kind of inner power doesn't scream. It moves in quiet confidence, knowing exactly what it's called to do. You may still have unanswered questions. You may still feel the tension of the unknown. But your spirit knows something your eyes have not yet seen. Breakthrough isn't an event, it's a realization. It begins the moment you decide not to shrink under pressure, but to rise with it. The shift you've sensed isn't your imagination, it's alignment, it's clarity. It's the internal proof that what you've been contending for is not only near, it's inevitable. Every ounce of endurance you've built is now positioning you for divine acceleration. The waiting wasn't meant to keep you stuck, it was meant to teach you to stand. Not in fear, not in frustration, but in faith. Real faith. The kind that doesn't need conditions to be ideal. The kind that declares, even if nothing changes, I'll still be found faithful. That kind of faith moves heaven. That kind of faith creates motion even in silence. And now that motion is surrounding you. Doors are being aligned. Resources are being released. Connections are being orchestrated. Not because you forced it, but because you stayed ready. What's coming won't feel rushed. It will feel right. Not because it's perfect, but because it's timed. You didn't miss your moment. You didn't delay your destiny. You've been maturing into it. Everything has been preparing you for this release. And when it arrives, it will fit you, not the old you, but the version you became through the waiting. Stay steady. Stay available. Stay expectant. The breakthrough you've been sensing is not a distant dream. It's a present reality already unfolding beneath the surface.